I want to ask you a question. If right now someone placed a piece of paper in your hand and told you, this is a list of the things that will determine your child's entire life, what do you think would be written on that paper? Good grades? Learning to read early? Getting into a good school? Outstanding achievements? Most people would think so. And most people are missing something more important than all of those things combined. Something that is not included in any school curriculum, not taught in any parenting class, and often overlooked inside our own homes every single day without anyone noticing. That thing is a sense of safety, not physical safety, not whether your child falls down or gets hurt, but inner safety, the feeling of, I am seen, I am loved, I can trust the person beside me. And if you have a child under 5 years old, or if you are preparing to become a parent, then what I am about to share in this video may completely change the way you think about raising children. Not because it is complicated, but because it is so simple that we often underestimate it. We are living in a world where the pressure of parenting has become a race no one officially announced, yet everyone is participating in. In the United States, there are educational programs for children as young as 18 months old. In South Korea, many children start learning English before they can fluently speak their native language. In Singapore, waiting lists for good preschools can stretch for years. And in many families around the world, from Tokyo to Toronto, from London to Lagos, people are teaching children to read, to calculate, to play piano, to learn a second language, even a third language, all before the child even enters first grade. No one does this because they are cruel. No one does this because they do not love their child. On the contrary, they do this because they love their child so much that they are afraid. Afraid their child will fall behind. Afraid their child will not be good enough. Afraid they have not done enough for their child. But here is what neuroscience has proven over decades, and we still have not truly listened. A young child's brain is not designed to learn knowledge first. A young child's brain is designed to feel safe first. And if that order is reversed, if a child is placed into a learning environment before emotional foundations are built, then even if that child memorizes the alphabet, even if that child can read books before school, their brain is still functioning from a state of deficiency, a state that, in the long run, harms them more than it helps. Dr. Arnold Gesell, one of the pioneers of modern child development research, spent decades observing children from birth to adulthood. And one of his most important findings, something many parents today still do not know, was this: forcing children to learn early does not create long-term advantages. Children who can read at age 3, children who learn arithmetic at age 4. When followed until age 10, 15, or 20, the academic differences between them and children who did not learn early almost completely disappear, but the differences in mental health do not disappear. Children who are pushed too early often carry something heavy into adulthood. The feeling that they only have value when they perform well. The feeling that love is conditional. The feeling that if they are not good enough, they will be abandoned. And that, even when no one intentionally creates it, becomes a very real psychological wound, a very common one, and a very difficult one to heal. The Harvard Center on the Developing Child has published many studies showing that emotional experiences in the early years do not only affect a child's feelings, they directly shape the physical structure of the brain. Every time a child cries and is met with gentleness, the brain creates a neural connection. Every time a child feels afraid and is comforted with an embrace, the brain learns that the world is a safe place. Every time a child is looked directly in the eyes and feels truly seen, an important part of the nervous system becomes stronger. On the other hand, every time a child is ignored, shouted at, or forced to stop crying before they are ready, the brain receives a different signal. This world is not safe. I need to protect myself. And when the brain switches into self-protection mode, when the nervous system remains constantly alert, the parts of the brain responsible for learning, creativity, and problem-solving gradually shut down, not because the child is not intelligent, but because the brain always prioritizes survival before learning. This is not theory. This is basic neurobiology. So what does a child truly need before the age of 5? I will say it directly, not to oversimplify, but because the truth is sometimes very simple. A child needs 3 things. First, emotional safety. Second, love that is responded to in a timely way. Third, the right to truly play. Sounds too simple, doesn't it? It sounds like something everyone already knows. But if everyone already knows this, then why are anxiety, depression, and emotional disorders among children increasing all over the world? Even in the wealthiest countries, where children study in the most beautiful schools. Because knowing and doing are 2 different things. And because we ourselves, the adults, are carrying wounds from our own childhood that have not healed. And many of those wounds affect how we respond to our children without us even realizing it. Let's talk about the first one, emotional safety. This does not mean never allowing your child to feel sad. It does not mean protecting your child from every hardship. It does not mean giving in to everything your child demands. Emotional safety means this. When your child experiences a difficult emotion, whether anger, fear, jealousy, or sadness, they know there is an adult beside them who will not judge them, will not dismiss them, will not say, "There's nothing to cry about." Emotional safety means your child is allowed to feel what they are feeling, and that sounds simple, but it is something many of us never received in our own childhood. Be honest with yourself. When you were little, when you cried, how did the adults around you respond? Did they sit down and ask, "What are you feeling?" Or did they say, "Stop crying. Don't cry anymore. It's not a big deal." And if you grew up in an environment where your emotions were constantly dismissed, then there is a good chance that unconsciously you are doing the same thing to your own child. Not because you do not love your child, but because that was the only way you were ever taught. Now, I want to tell you about a child. I will call her Lily. Lily grew up in a middle-class family in the United States. Her parents were both highly educated. Both cared deeply about her future. From the time Lily was 2 years old, they enrolled her in flashcard training, music lessons, and Spanish lessons. Lily attended private school, had a personal tutor, and by 3rd grade she was reading at a 6th grade level. On paper, Lily was a successful child. But when Lily turned 15, she began suffering from severe anxiety. Whenever there was an exam, she would vomit from stress. Whenever she scored lower than her friends, she would cry all night and wonder whether she was still worthy of love. Lily's parents were confused. They had done everything right. They had invested so much. Why wasn't their child happy? The answer lay in something they never intentionally ignored, but still failed to give her. The feeling that no matter what she did, no matter what grades she got, whether she won or lost, she was still loved. Lily grew up with a deeply rooted belief in her subconscious. Her worth was tied to achievement, and when achievement was no longer perfect, she collapsed from the inside. That was not Lily's fault, and it was not entirely her parents' fault either. It was the result of emotional foundations that were never properly built during the early years. Now let's talk about the second thing, love that is responded to in time. In psychology, this is called responsive caregiving, and it is different from helicopter parenting, the kind of parenting where parents constantly hover over their child, controlling everything. Responsive caregiving means this. When your child sends a signal, whether it is crying, a searching gaze, or a small tug on your hand, you notice that signal and respond. Not always perfectly, not always immediately, but often enough for the child to learn an incredibly important lesson. When I need someone, someone is here. Dr. John Bowlby, the founder of attachment theory, one of the most influential psychological theories of the 20th century, spent his entire life studying this. And his conclusion, after decades of observing thousands of children across many countries, was very clear. The quality of a child's early attachment with their primary caregiver becomes the foundation for every relationship that child will have throughout life. How they love others as adults, how they trust a partner, how they treat their own children, it all begins here, from small ordinary moments that seem insignificant, a glance, a hug, a quiet voice in the dark saying, "Mom is here." And the third thing, the right to truly play. This is the hardest thing for many modern parents to accept, because we live in a world where everything must have a purpose. Even children's play must be educational. But Dr. David Whitebread from University of Cambridge, who spent decades studying the role of play in child development, said something I believe all of us need to hear. Play is the most powerful way young children learn. Not worksheets, not flashcards, not hours-long classes where children sit still in chairs trying to focus on things their brains are not yet ready to process, but play. When a child builds a tower out of small wooden blocks and watches it fall, their brain is learning problem solving, learning how to tolerate frustration, learning how to try again. When a child pretends to be a doctor and treats a doll, the brain is developing empathy, communication skills, and creative thinking. When a child runs outside, climbs trees, plays with sand, rolls on the grass, the nervous system is being regulated. Emotional self-control is being trained. Focus is being built, not through exercises, but through the body's own free experience in space. And most importantly, when children play freely, without adults controlling them, without goals, without right or wrong, they are learning how to guide themselves. They are learning how to be themselves. That is the foundation of true confidence, not confidence from praise, but confidence that comes from learning. I am capable of navigating this world. Now I want to talk about something very specific. Something all of us, whether we are fathers or mothers, caregivers or teachers, can do starting today. Change the way we respond to our children's emotions. It sounds simple, but this is one of the most powerful changes we can make in a child's brain development. Try to imagine this situation. Your child is crying because they are not allowed to have more candy before dinner. You already said no. Your child cries louder, keeps crying. Most of us in that moment would say one of these things. Stop crying. There's nothing to cry about. You're such a demanding child. If you don't stop, mommy won't love you anymore. Or we stay silent and walk away. These reactions, while completely understandable, especially when we are exhausted, all send a hidden message to the child's brain. Your emotions do not matter. When you are struggling, you will be left alone. And that does not teach your child how to regulate emotions. It only teaches them how to bury emotions. Instead, and I know this is not easy, especially when we are drained, try sitting down at your child's eye level and say, "I know you're upset. You really want that candy, don't you? I understand." And the answer is still no, but I am here with you. Just a few sentences like that, but the impact on a child's brain is completely different. When a child feels that their emotions are named and accepted, even when their request is not granted, the brain learns how to process emotions instead of being controlled by them. That is the foundation of emotional intelligence. And in many long-term studies, emotional intelligence, the ability to understand and manage one's own emotions, predicts happiness and success in life even better than IQ. There is something else I want to say directly, because I do not think enough people are saying this loudly enough. The way you praise your child matters just as much as whether you praise them at all. Many parents love their children and express that love through praise like, "You're so smart. You're the best in your class. You're a genius. It sounds positive. But research from Dr. Carol Dweck at Stanford University, who spent more than 30 years studying mindset and motivation, shows something important. Praise like this can actually harm children in the long run. Why? Because when you praise your child for being smart, you attach their value to a fixed trait. And the child learns this: I have value because I am smart. That sounds fine, until the child faces a difficult problem. A situation where they do not know the answer. A moment when they fail. And in that moment, instead of thinking, I need to try harder, they think, if I'm not good at this, I lose my value. And that child will begin avoiding challenges. Avoid situations where failure is possible, because to them, failure is not part of learning. Failure becomes proof that they are not good enough. Instead, praise effort. Praise the process. I saw how hard you tried. You didn't give up even when it was hard. That matters more than the result. You tried a new approach. I'm really proud of that. Sentences like these teach something different. Your value does not come from being smart or not smart. Your value comes from being willing to try, willing to keep going, willing to stand back up after falling. And that is the foundation of what Dr. Dweck calls a growth mindset. A mindset that many employers, leaders, and therapists agree is one of the most valuable assets a person can have. I want to pause here for a moment and ask you something. On an ordinary day, a day when nothing special happens, how much time do you truly spend being present with your child? Not sitting beside them while looking at your phone. Not driving them to school while thinking about your 9 o'clock meeting. Not being at home with them while your mind is somewhere else. I mean truly present. Your eyes looking at them. Your ears listening to what they are saying, even if it is a story about a tiny ant they saw on the way home. Presence does not require a lot of time, but it does require quality. And it requires something the modern world is taking away very quickly: undivided attention. A study published in 2023, following more than 10,000 children across multiple countries over nearly 10 years, found a clear correlation. Children raised by caregivers who responded with gentleness and consistency, not necessarily perfection, but consistency, had higher self-esteem, better mental health, and a stronger ability to build healthy relationships in adulthood. Not because their parents were wealthier, not because they attended better schools, but because they grew up knowing they mattered to someone. There is an image I want to leave with you. Imagine a tree. You want that tree to grow tall, strong, and able to withstand storms. So what do? Can you stand there every day and pull the trunk upward to make it grow faster? Can you glue extra leaves onto empty branches? No. The only thing you can do is care for the roots. Water it. Provide good soil. Make sure the tree receives enough sunlight. And then trust the process. Your child is the same. You cannot force your child's brain to develop faster by stuffing knowledge into it before it is ready. You cannot buy confidence for your child through expensive classes. You cannot give your child inner strength through external achievements. What you can do, and what truly matters in your child's early years, is care for the roots. Build safety. Give responsive love. And give your child the right to simply be a child. I want to say one more thing. And this is for parents who feel heavy after hearing all of this. If you realize that you have not done these things well enough, if you look back and see moments when you were not present, moments when you said things you wish you had not said, moments when the pressure of life affected the way you treated your child, stop, breathe, and remember this: no one is born a perfect parent. No one. Research does not require you to be perfect. A child's brain does not need you to be perfect. A child's brain needs you to be good enough, consistent enough, real enough. Dr. Donald Winnicott, a well-known British psychologist, introduced a concept that I believe is one of the greatest gifts modern psychology has given to parents: good enough parent, not perfect, not someone who never makes mistakes, but a parent who is good enough, a parent who is willing to recognize when they are wrong, willing to come back and repair, and above all, always a safe place their child can return to. When a child knows that no matter what they do, no matter how badly they fail, no matter how messy, disobedient, or imperfect they may be, there is still a place to return to. A person who will not judge them, will not abandon them, will not withdraw love. That child has the foundation to face everything life will throw at them. Let me summarize what we talked about today. A child's brain before age 5 is designed to feel safe first and learn second. When that order is reversed, when knowledge is prioritized over connection, we may unintentionally create children who look accomplished on the outside, but feel empty on the inside. What your child truly needs before the age of 5 is not ABCs or 123s. What your child needs is emotional safety, responsive love, and the right to play. The way you respond to your child's emotions shapes how they will process emotions for the rest of their life. Praise effort instead of results, and more important than anything else, be truly present, not just with your body, but with your full attention. You do not need to become a perfect parent. You only need to be a place your child feels safe returning to, and sometimes a peaceful hug, a genuine look into your child's eyes. A sentence like, "Mom is here, you are not alone," can change an entire life. Not because it is grand, but because it is real. And in this noisy world, truth is always the rarest thing. If this video was helpful to you, share it with other parents you know. Because maybe what they need most right now is not another class for their child, but to hear this: you are doing better than you think. And you can still begin again, starting today.